let's move on now, because the Chicago White Sox over, I don't know how long fans have been calling for this to happen, but they finally DFA'd John Danks. Now, when you designate a player for assignment, they go to waivers, and I think there's like a 10-day span that they're on waivers, and if he clears waivers, the team can send him to AAA, which means they can keep him. But with Danks, he's just going to get released, and they're just going to be on the hook for his remaining $15 million contract, or $13.86 million that they owe him. So Danks is gone.
Anyone going to claim him?
Probably not.
No.
Especially with that contract, because they would have to pick up the full thing.
Because it's cheaper just to re-sign or sign him once
with Danks, what's going to happen to him, he's just going to sit on his couch and relax and watch the White Sox and hope they win a World Series for him. But this move allows them to have a chance to win a World Series now. This is good stuff. Sean, you're the White Sox fan here. What do you think of the move?
I mean, I think we could have won a World Series with Danks, but I think Danks would have been in the bullpen. I mean, looking at Danks, it's fantastic that he's gone. I mean, he did provide great moments for the Sox, and I love what he provided us from 2007 to 2010. But then obviously he had the injuries, and his abilities started declining. I love the move because, like you said, this makes us our chances to go on further better if the guy that replaces Danks can actually, provide a win. Because, I mean, looking at Danks, he was a lefty, and that's the only thing that really was the great part about him. Because, I mean, I think Sales are only other lefty in the rotation. So, I mean, I look at Danks, he provided that other mismatch. Now it's really who can we replace him with? I mean, I think Eric Johnson's going to come up and try to replace him, but I don't think Eric Johnson's the answer. I mean, that kind of looks like what the Cubs had last year in their rotation, where the back half of Hamels and Hendricks was very shaky, where you had Lester and Arrieta at the top.
And what did we do? We went out and got John Lackey.
Well, yeah, and now Hamel is pitching fantastic. So, I mean, I think Eric Johnson is not the answer, but I think it's a better step forward where this rotation is going to be even more scary.
Did you guys kind of pull a north side move, and instead of, like, I say north side move because we did it during the offseason to get Lackey to bring in another starter, do you guys either, I mean, Lincecum's looking to get on a team, Mark Buehrle's sitting on his couch doing nothing, and he used to be a White Sox.
Do not start bringing up that Buehrle thing, because I told you that like 4 months ago, and you're like, now you're trying to pass it off as your own idea.
I'm just trying to egg you on,
Well,
Sean.
let's get into that conversation in a minute, but I just want to talk about Danks a little bit in his time in Chicago. Okay, one, I feel bad for the guy, right? I feel bad because he put his, he worked really hard for this organization. He spent his entire career with them, and it sucks the way that his career ended because he was bad, like really bad. I think, what was it? So back before the White Sox signed him to that 5-year deal, it was between either him and Buehrle. And they let Buehrle walk in favor of John Danks because he was a younger left-handed pitcher coming off a good year.
Is that when Buehrle went to Miami now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And, Buehrle put together a nice few seasons after that. Ho-hum, by the way. But with Danks, after he signed that contract, well, he had that shoulder surgery, which was really bad. Like, that hindered his entire performance after that. But he didn't have an ERA under 4.7 consecutively.
Yeah.
After that signing.
It was atrocious.
He was super inconsistent. And you talk about Danks, he gives you innings. He gave you 193 and 177 in 2014 and 2015. That was it.
And you look at Buehrle from 2011 to 2015, he had one season where his ERA was above 4. So, I mean, obviously that was not the right move there, letting Buehrle go and keeping Danks. But I did see why they did it, because you mentioned he's younger, he's still a lefty, and I think that, the move there was a bad idea, but you could also understand where they're going from.
Yeah, in hindsight, it was awful.
Yeah, in hindsight, it was a bad move. I mean, thinking where Buehrle could be right now, he'd probably be one of the greatest Sox of all time. I mean, the way he pitched and consecutively pitched.
They loved him here.
We still love him, and that's why we want to bring him back. It's because he's a great clubhouse. He was a great clubhouse guy. He's got so much history here, and it's just bringing back a guy who can still obviously pitch. Because if you look at last year,
we talked about Danks and his innings limit. Let's see. I'm just gonna, because he had a shoulder surgery. He had 53 innings before he got hurt. After that, he had 138, 193, 177, and this year he had 22. Now we look at Mark Buehrle since 2012. Mark Buehrle had 202 innings, 203 innings, 202 innings, and 198 last year.
You can literally just say he has pitched over 200 innings in every single season except for one, and he missed it by 2.1 innings.
That's consistency, and that's reliability, and that's what the White Sox need.
If you look at Buehrle's career, he's just had the most consistent career ever. He hasn't sparked, he hasn't dipped, he hasn't done anything. I mean, he's just consistent, and that's what you want.
ERA under 4.
Yeah, I mean, he usually gives up a ton of hits, but he still keeps that ERA under. He's still starting over 30 games. I mean, there hasn't been a season. His lowest starts was 30 in 2007.
What do you think, Rick?
And plus, the one thing with if the Sox went out and got Buehrle, it'd be a great move. It'd be a fan favorite because the fans would be all on it. This would be the old like Kenny Williams type of move that me and Dave usually joke about, where it's like, oh, we're getting to the deadline.
Right.
What overage player are we getting now?
Right.
Ken Griffey coming to the Sox.
Kevin Youkilis.
Big boy Manny coming to the
Ramirez,
Sox.
yep.
It's like this wouldn't be that. This would be bringing a guy back, but you're not bringing him back to be your number one. You're bringing him back
it would be
to
a
be
smart
the 5.
move. And people kind of like topics like this. Oh yeah, barely. Yeah, we joke around about it, but he's only 37 years old. He can still do it.
He could be a fifth. He could be a quality 5
and he's
starter.
not throwing like he's throwing what 84, 87.
He's Bartolo Colon. He's got control and he's got movement, and that's. But he's not going to blow you away with speed. And he's going to put the ball on the ground, but he's going to keep it on the ground.
And you keep that lefty in your rotation.
Yeah, and that's.
I mean,
what
the
you
Sox are stacked with lefties. They would have 4 out of 5 as lefties still.
Now, is that a reason why you go after Lincecum? Because he's a righty?
Lincecum's a different story. I mean,
he's not the freak anymore.
He's got a showcase coming up, and a lot of teams are scouting him. The Cubs are among them, but the White Sox too. And I don't think it would be... Well, it depends on what he wants to ask, because I think he's not going to get more than a 1-year deal. I don't think teams are stupid enough to give him a multi-year deal, especially after that injury and, the inconsistencies he's had over the last 4 or 5 years. So, I mean, that's somebody definitely the White Sox you're looking to. 32 years old, can still help you out in some way, but it depends, the longevity, I don't know. We'll see. Because they do have other options, but I'm not really confident in those options.
Looking at Lincecum, I just see a guy who's been hurt and is inconsistent. It's kind of like Danks. He had a good start. I mean, obviously he had a way better start to his career than Danks because he won 2 straight Cy Youngs. But you could see that dip. You can see that loss of velocity. You can see
the
that
velocity fell big time.
You could see that loss of control. I mean, if he comes back and he's starting to blow you away with like mid 90s fastballs, then yeah, I mean, bring him back. But I mean, he's not going to be anything special. Where Buehrle, you know what you're getting. I mean, but also with Buehrle, he said after the year with Toronto that he's only going to pitch for the Cardinals. He only wants to go to the Cardinals. So I mean, it might take a lot of convincing from Kenny Williams and Rick Hahn. But I mean, I think Buehrle would probably be the better thing because he's great even defensively. He's great picking off players at first base. He's obviously still consistent. Where Lincecum, he's got injury problems. He might not have that velocity. He might not bring back that speed. He might not bring back that power. I would look for someone who could be more consistent because that's what you want in a fifth guy. You don't want a guy who can go out there and throw a shutout or just throw one of the worst games. You want a guy who's going to give you at least consistent wins or consistent starts where you can expect the same thing. I mean, and Buehrle, you look at him, he's got. I mean, I know Lincecum's got great postseason experience there, but Burley's got so many with the Sox.
And I was actually going to harp on that because the one thing Sox fans can kind of look at, especially right now, I know it's early, we're just beginning May of the season, but you can sit there and go, okay, how is this guy going to help us in the playoffs? And let's be honest, a 5th starter, in my mind, each team you should go down to 3, maybe use that 4th guy every now and then. However, both Lincecum and or Buehrle, if you throw him in, both these guys, because Lincecum did it with the Giants, Buehrle obviously did it when the White Sox won their championship. These guys can be quality pitching, experienced guys, know what to do. Let's say Quintana goes out there, and I'm just throwing Quintana out there because I didn't want to say Chris Sale. Let's say Quintana goes out there in an ALCS Game 6, gets rocked in the 2nd. You got to throw a long reliever in there. You can throw a guy like Timmy Lincecum or Buehrle in there,
with that
and
idea,
they've got the experience to be calm, cool, collected.
You have those 2 guys, Sale and Quintana, as your rocks. Say you're going into the playoffs with them. Now, Carlos Rodon, been in the league, this is his 2nd season. And how many innings are you? Well, because you're going to rely on him all year. I mean, how consistent can he be? And how often is it that he throws this many innings? It hasn't. We haven't seen it. He's still young. So there's a question mark with Rodon. Even though he's pitching very well this season, there's a question mark there. And Matt Latos, can he keep up his consistency that we've seen him do this season? I mean, the start he had was otherworldly, right? For Lincecum's, for Latos' sake. So I mean, he's going to come back to earth eventually. Now, you're right, Ricky. You have that safety cushion in Mark Buehrle coming out of the pen if you need it, or a guy who can start and who has experience in the playoffs. So I think this Buehrle move is not even that crazy to say that it could happen, you know?
And I got one more name to throw out there, and I'm only throwing this out because you mentioned him last year. It pains me to say it because he killed my Illinois Fighting Illini in the college baseball tournament last year.
You didn't watch that shit.
No,
Don't
I
act like
did.
you did.
I watched Vanderbilt, Illinois.
Yeah,
I watched
right.
that entire series. I did. I only watched the College World Series.
So
if
who do you
Illinois
think?
is in it.
Okay, realistically,
I'm throwing out, and I'm not saying like, oh, he should come in. I'm just asking your opinions because you guys, Sean's the White Sox fan, and you follow those Sox more than I do, Mike. I'm kind of the guy that I got my Cubs, and then I got every general story that's in the MLB. Carson Fulmer, is he a guy that, is he a year removed? Is he 2 years removed? Because right now, looking at the stats right now, he's gotten 5 games. Yeah, the whip is nice at 1.3, but that 5.74 ERA, or 4.7, I a little dyslexic there, in AAA, that's a little bit concerning. So is he a guy that you're expecting to maybe move up the ranks and get there in the August call-up, or is he a year removed?
Go ahead, Sean.
He's a year removed. I don't think he's. I mean, we picked him high, and I like his potential, but I don't think he's going to come in and start. I think he's got to wait a year. I mean, looking at him, he does have good potential, but again, he's too young. I mean, I don't think he's ready for the big leagues. Even as an August call-up. I mean, just putting him in the pen, I think that's a waste. Just put him in Double-A, then bring him up for spring training next year. I mean, I wouldn't waste his time and his experience down in the minor leagues right away just to put him into a playoff team. I mean, you don't need him. You can call up guys who are more veteran savvy than Fulmer, where you want him to develop. I mean, I think that's just rushing guys there. And looking at the White Sox, I mean, we've had a terrible farm system for years, and I think that would just kind of put a harp on it if we brought up one of our top prospects already. I think you got to leave him down.
You got to be careful with Carson Fulmer, definitely. 22 years old. He hasn't pitched a full season yet in the major league level, like I'm talking even in the minors. And you're going to call him up in the middle of a playoff race in the majors, right away without seeing a pitch. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think you just got to be careful and wait a year with Fulmer. Even though I suggested it in my last podcast, you could call him up and he can have an impact, because he will. But I don't think he's at that level yet where he can be as consistent as they hope.
One name I do want to throw out there, and this one's kind of a long shot, because Cliff Lee was hurt last year, and
No.
and I mean he was fantastic in 2013.
I think he's done, man.
He might be done, but I mean, again, you might want to try him.
Elbow.
You might want to try him because he does have arm troubles. But again, if you're bringing him late in the season, he might not have to pitch too much, and he might not overwork that arm. I'm just throwing it out there because maybe you use him for the later half of the season.
So.
And then you throw it in. I'm just throwing it out there. Still see what he's got. And I'm not saying you sign him right away. Maybe you put him in the minor leagues for right now and just see if he wants to work out of that.
Cliff Lee in the minors? I don't think so.
No, like AAA. Give him some rehab starts. So
I think he's done. I think his career's over.
My last thing that I was going to throw out is, do we think that, hey, maybe we'll let Eric Johnson kind of man the ship, and if things go well for now, cool, we don't have to worry about it. And then when we get towards the trade deadline, do the Sox try to a little small trade, like a minor trade for like, okay, this guy's better than Eric Johnson, let's make that move?
They'll definitely make a move.
I think that's the route that they're looking to go. We'll see which names pop out, because we're still in May. We got 2 months left before the trade deadline. But you're right.
I always think of that deadline.
No,
and
that's
the Sox,
definitely
Kenny
a game
Williams,
changer for teams.
I know Rick Hahn is making more of the moves now, but
especially in a playoff race, he's not going to be a guy who wants to sell. Obviously.
The Sox have always been a team where it's like, let's buy.
No, I agree with you. I think that's the route they have to go, because I don't think Eric Johnson's going to be a consistent guy for you. I don't think he's got the stuff to even get major league hitters out. I mean, you saw it in spring training. His command was off, and I mean his velocity. I mean, it was okay, but it's really, this guy isn't really major league quality to me. What I've seen so far in his career, and a lot of guys are high on him, but I'm not really seeing it. And they also took a chance. Well, they didn't really take a chance. It's not really a chance, but they were able to sign Miguel Gonzalez from the Orioles. I mean, he's another piece. He started kind of got hit around a little bit, but I would venture to guess that Miguel Gonzalez plays a bigger role than Eric Johnson does in this rotation moving forward for the White Sox.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it out, and I think they would go for a lower level starter. I mean, I don't think the Sox are quiet on the trade front
I'm excited for the trade deadline.